Thanks so much for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. Let's get to your headlines. Breaking news this morning, 2 people are dead after a mobile home fire in Jordan. That's about 30 minutes south of the Twin Cities. Crews are still on scene cleaning up after that fire broke out around 3 this morning. The Jordan Police Department says when they arrived, the home was fully engulfed in flames and a man was outside the home, but that 2 women were still inside. Firefighters went inside and pulled them out, but sadly, one of the women died on scene. Another was rushed to the hospital, but she later died there. And right now, police say the man is in serious condition. What sparked the flames is still under investigation. Happening right now, the battle over who the Trump administration can deport, who it cannot, and what role the federal courts play in this entire process. And this is all heating up as a federal judge set new orders and a new deadline for the administration to explain what it's doing to bring a mistakenly deported Maryland man back into the U.S. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Hi there. As the fight over that mistaken deportation intensifies, some Republican lawmakers home on break are hearing from frustrated voters while the Trump administration is digging in.
This morning, an escalating legal test as a federal judge issued new orders for the Trump administration to turn over evidence of what it's done to abide by her ruling to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the U.S., signaling that without action so far, she's considering contempt proceedings against the administration. The father of 3 was deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador through what Justice Department officials initially called an administrative error.
Enough is enough. My family can't be robbed from another day without seeing Kilmar.
The Supreme Court has ruled the administration must facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to the U.S., but the White House argues El Salvador would have to first initiate his release.
He's from El Salvador, so that's a decision up to El Salvador.
Now arguing he was not mistakenly deported, pointing to a previous judge's ruling that Abrego Garcia was part of the MS-13 gang, though his attorneys dispute that, citing questionable testimony from a confidential informant. Abrego Garcia has never been criminally convicted in the U.S. or El Salvador. He entered the U.S. illegally in 2011 and was granted protected status in 2019 to prevent being deported to El Salvador because of potential dangers. He'd been living in Maryland, one of the state's Democratic senators traveling to El Salvador today to press for his return.
This is about not letting people be just whisked off the street, which the Trump administration admits was done in error.
As legal experts argue, the case raises questions about due process for anyone in the U.S.
The federal judge in this case gave government lawyers 2 weeks to provide information about what's being done to return Abrego Garcia. Clearly frustrated by a lack of answers so far, she told them to cancel vacations and other appointments if needed to meet that new deadline. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The trade war between the U.S. and China is also escalating this morning. China just halted the delivery of all its Boeing jets to airlines in the country. The move causing shares of Boeing to fall in the last 24 hours. Boeing is America's largest exporter. Experts say the move would be a blow to not just the company, but also the U.S. economy. New developments this morning in St. Paul's ongoing trash collection problem. Mayor Melvin Carter just vetoed the city council's decision to block a contract with a new trash hauling service. A city spokesperson says the mayor believes the council made a legally risky and inconsistent decision, which could harm city services. The council rejected the plan after the community expressed concerns about the location of a new dispatch center in the West 7th neighborhood. Staying in St. Paul before the start of next season, the Xcel Energy Center will have a new name. Last night, the Wild announced the naming rights for the stadium are up for sale at the end of the summer after 25 years. The team says they'll announce it before next season. And turning to the Minnesota Wild now, they are officially in the Stanley Cup playoffs this morning following an overtime thriller at the X. Minnesota taking down the Ducks to clinch that wild card spot. Sports director Reggie Wilson is breaking down all the excitement.
Pretty lopsided wins the last 2 times the Wild played the Ducks, but you knew this time would be a little bit more difficult as the Wild try to clinch a playoff spot, and boy did things heat up late. Let's go to the third here at the X. Fans here went, Sam Colangelo scores the go-ahead goal, and it gets tight as the Ducks skate ahead. But Joel Eriksson X says, "I got us." His 14th goal of the season ties the game and sends it to overtime. The Wild also clinch a playoff berth because of that. Then Matt Bodie just wants to send the fans home even happier. His 27th goal of the season ends it, and the Wild win 3-2. So the Wild make the fans sweat it out here a little bit, but they ultimately get in. They advance to the playoffs as a 7th seed to play the Vegas Golden Knights. At XL Energy Center, Reggie Wilson, KARE 11 Sports.
Developing right now, a Hopkins City Council member is in the hot seat for falling asleep in a meeting and missing part of a conference he was sent to in Washington, D.C., that for using taxpayer dollars. Ben Goodland says due to some last-minute changes on the itinerary, he shifted his trip by 1 day, causing him to miss a portion of the National League of Cities conference. Goodland says he partially reimbursed the city for missing a portion of that conference and that the photo of him dozing off actually shows a diabetic episode in which he was experiencing low blood sugar, one that leads to fatigue.
I'd like to apologize to the people of Hopkins for being put in a position where an individual decided to snap pictures of me, share them on social media in an attempt to discredit and embarrass me. And in so doing, they also embarrassed the city.
He went on to say he checked in with his doctor after returning from his trip and got glucose tablets to help in similar situations moving forward. We do have a public records request in with the city of Hopkins about the expenses tied to this trip and the partial refund the city received from Goodland. Carrie Heinzman has won the Republican special primary for Minnesota Senate District 6. Heinzman, wife of State Representative Josh Heinzman, won with nearly 40% of the vote in the 8-candidate race. She served as district director for President Trump's 2024 campaign. She'll face off against Democrat Denise Slipey in the special election on April 29th. This election is to replace Justin Eichhorn, who resigned after being arrested in a sting operation in Bloomington. He's been charged with attempting to solicit sex from a minor. The city of Anoka is waiting on approval for a municipal cannabis license. In the meantime, the city is looking for someone to lead that dispensary. Our Jessica Hart has the story.
The city of Anoka is looking to get a little greener.
We're hoping to be one of the first ones to be open.
Kevin Morelli leads Anoka's liquor operations, and now the city wants someone to lead its marijuana operations.
So just that control with a controlled substance is very important.
Monday, Anoka posted a new position online, cannabis dispensary manager. Once the city gets a green light on its municipal cannabis license, this person will be responsible for the daily operations of the city-owned dispensary.
Just like the liquor operation, the main goal is just to control the sale of the recreational marijuana in the city. And number 2, to generate revenue from the sales of that.
He says the Office of Cannabis Management will only allow cities to own and operate one of these, but that doesn't mean they'll be the only one in the city.
Under the OCM law, we'd have to allow for one privately owned one. That would be run separate by a separate owner that gets a license from the OCM. So this position would be just solely for the city-owned dispensary.
Even though the city doesn't have its license, they plan to move fast to make way for more green in the city.
We're hoping to break ground on a new building on or around May 12th, and we're hoping to have it ready by December 1st. As long as we have our license in our hand, we can get the operation up and running.
Morelli says they hope to hire someone by May 19th so they can be involved in some of the decision making. Once approved, the dispensary will be adjacent to the city-owned liquor store. Applications are due by April 25th. As we head to break, you need to see this. Take a look at your screen right now. We have new pictures into the newsroom this morning of the Northern Lights making a show on the North Shore overnight. These were posted on our That's So Minnesota Facebook page. You can share your pictures there as well. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.